Hey guys, tonight we're stepping back into an era when spandex was king, perms were a lifestyle, and caffeine came with a prescription. Welcome to the weird and wonderful world of 1980s working mothers and their frankly heroic, sometimes questionable love affair with diet pills. That's right. Tonight, it's less Stranger Things, more Stranger Supplements. So before you get horizontal and start counting sheep on waterbeds, take a second to like this video and subscribe, but only if you actually enjoy this sort of thing. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're listening from, what time it is for you, and if your mum ever hid Dexatrim in the flour canister. Now, dim the lights, crank up that fan for a little white noise, and slide into your most embarrassing pajamas. Get comfortable. Really comfortable. Because you're about to tumble headfirst into a time when self-care meant tab cola, mental health was a secret, and the only mindfulness was counting calories. Let's pause for a second. Did 1980s moms actually believe you could vacuum in heels and still make it to work on time? What was in those neon pink lunchboxes, lettuce, or just hope? Did anyone actually eat Snackwells? Or were those just edible coasters? Why did every workplace coffee room smell like burnt popcorn and existential dread? And how did every other TV commercial seem to involve a before and after photo and a very enthusiastic woman in a headband? And most importantly, were diet pills just another accessory, like shoulder pads? Or were they the secret fuel behind PTA meetings, night shifts, and your neighbor's suspiciously clean station wagon? Could you survive a day in a world of fax machines, microwaved lean cuisine, and the constant hum of anxiety? Would you last a week in a society where the only thing more common than diet fads was the fear of missing a Tupperware party? Congratulations, you've just woken up in 1985. Your hair is bigger than your mortgage. Your boss wants you early. Your kids want you always. And your best friend's new boyfriend just opened an aerobics studio. Good luck. You wake up to the blare of a clock radio and the smell of hairspray so thick it could stop a bullet. Somewhere, a child is crying for cereal, a phone is ringing, and your robe is stuck to a patch of dried orange juice on the kitchen floor. Welcome to the 1980s suburban battlefield. Let's talk about your bedroom. No gentle sunrise alarm. No soft, lo-fi playlist. The day begins with your clock radio's tinny rendition of Eye of the Tiger, volume set somewhere between Wakes the Dead and giving your cat PTSD. You fumble for the snooze button and instead smack a pyramid of glossy magazines off your nightstand, Redbook, Cosmopolitan, a Reader's Digest with a dried coffee ring for good luck. Your hair, sculpted the night before with enough Aquanet to kill a wasp at 50 paces, is still perfectly intact. Stiff as a helmet. It's not so much a style as a structural achievement. You lurch into the hallway, and suddenly, the entire household is awake. Sometimes by choice, mostly by force of routine. You step carefully around Lego landmines and the half-inflated balloon from someone's birthday 3 weeks ago. Down the hall, a teenager is already monopolizing the bathroom, unleashing clouds of Love's Baby Soft into the ecosystem and fogging the mirror for the next 3 hours. You sigh. You remember when you used to have time for your own thoughts, maybe even a quiet cup of coffee. Now, you're lucky if you remember what day it is or why you came downstairs in the first place. In the kitchen, the chaos intensifies. The cordless phone, which is never actually in its cradle, starts ringing, chirping its way to the edge of your sanity. Is it your boss, your mother, the school nurse? The phone company again? Trying to upsell call waiting? Who knows? You pick it up, wedging it between your shoulder and cheek, and launch straight into crisis management mode. Yes, hello. Yes, I know it's late. Yes, I'll send the permission slip. No, we're not interested in solar panels, thank you. Meanwhile, A small child tugs on your sleeve with the urgency of someone whose entire sense of well-being depends on eating a bowl of cereal this very instant. You reach for the nearest box, usually something sugar-coated and vibrantly colored, the kind of thing that glows under a blacklight. Half the time, you pour out more toy than food. You wonder, not for the first time, whether part of a balanced breakfast actually means anything, or if it's just code for contains sugar and at least one vitamin. While the kids argue over who gets to read the prize box, you attempt to microwave your own breakfast, a tragic, rubbery English muffin sandwich that never quite achieves warmth in the center. If you're feeling optimistic, maybe a cup of instant coffee. If you're feeling brave, you pop a diet pill and hope it kicks in before the commute. The directions say take with food. But the 1980s definition of food is flexible. 2 bites of toast, a lick of margarine, and whatever crumbs you find in the car. You barely have time to notice your robe is stuck to a mystery patch on the linoleum, probably orange juice, possibly something more sinister. You contemplate changing, but instead just drag it along, spreading the evidence like a backward Zamboni. Someone asks where their homework is. Someone else asks where their left shoe has gone. The dog is barking at the dishwasher, and you realize you still haven't brushed your teeth. This is the calm before the storm, the few frantic moments when you gather your energy, your briefcase, your purse, and your dignity, and prepare to charge into the world. You catch a glimpse of yourself in the hallway mirror, hair unsinkable, eyes already tired, lipstick slightly crooked but determined. This is not just a morning routine, this is a full-contact sport. And as you finally shepherd the herd out the door, lunchboxes, book reports, mismatched socks, and all, you pause, take a breath, and realize you survived the first battle of the day, only 12 hours to go. Forget avocado toast. Your breakfast is 2 slices of white bread, a cup of sanka, and a tiny, mysterious pill that claims to boost metabolism. The family watches you, wide-eyed, as you swallow it with Diet Cola. Will you float away, or just vibrate quietly at the table? It's 7:13 a.m. The house is filled with the gentle crunch of over-toasted bread and the unmistakable aroma of instant coffee that tastes faintly of cardboard and lost hope. You sit at a formica table, its pattern designed to hide jelly stains, contemplating the meal ahead. In the 1980s, the food pyramid was a choose-your-own-adventure, and your adventure comes with a side of artificial sweetener and a vague sense of dread. You take a moment to admire your breakfast. The bread is so white it practically glows, lightly singed around the edges and slathered with margarine from a tub shaped like a miniature bucket. The knife leaves perfect tracks in the pale yellow spread. A geometric masterpiece, ruined in seconds by your child's enthusiastic swipe of grape jelly. Someone asks for peanut butter. But that's a weekend luxury. Weekdays are for speed and survival, not flavor. Now, the main event. A tiny, chalky tablet sits next to your plate, perfectly innocent if you ignore the fine print. Maximum strength, the label promises, in a cheerful font that doesn't look legally binding. Supports natural energy. Clinically tested. Tested by whom, and under what circumstances, no one can say. The instructions suggest food, water, and moderate expectations. You wash it down with a cold gulp of Tab or Diet Right, depending on which coupon was in last Sunday's paper. The children look on in a mix of awe and concern, like they're watching a minor magic trick or a prelude to a science experiment gone wrong. The dog eyes the pill too, as if considering whether it's worth swapping his kibble for a shot at unlimited energy and questionable heart palpitations. Your spouse, hidden behind the sports section, mutters something about cholesterol and slides a plate of scrambled eggs your way. Eggs that no one actually asked for, destined to congeal into rubber on the countertop. You pretend to be grateful. This is the 1980s, after all. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, right after personal ambition and making it to work before the copier jams again. Outside, the sun is rising. Inside, your kitchen is a tornado of backpacks, permission slips, and negotiations about who gets the last toaster pastry. You pause, momentarily dizzy, as the diet pill begins its mysterious journey through your bloodstream. Will it grant you the power to alphabetize the entire spice rack before 8 a.m.? Will you finally win an argument with the PTA president? Or will you spend the next hour jittering so hard you spill Sanka on your pastel pantsuit? Meanwhile, you field breakfast questions like a game show host on a 5-second timer. Can I have chocolate milk? Where's my retainer? Why are you drinking soda for breakfast? Good questions, all. But in the great balancing act of motherhood, career, and societal expectations, sometimes the answer is just, because I need to. You glance at the clock, feeling the first tingle of energy. Or is it dread? As the pill kicks in, your leg bounces. Your mind skips ahead to meetings, deadlines, and the possibility of running out of hairspray. For one fleeting moment, you feel superhuman. Or possibly just super anxious. Either way, you're ready. Breakfast ends in a flurry of crumbs, scattered homework, and a gentle reminder that no one has brushed their teeth. As you gather your bag and corral the kids, you give the pill bottle a sideways glance. The label winks back, promising transformation. But really, the only thing you're guaranteed is another unpredictable day. Powered by bread, caffeine, and the kind of optimism you can only buy over the counter. And just like that, the balancing act begins anew. Shoulder pads are mandatory. Nylons are always one snag from disaster. And Reeboks are the only thing standing between you and a catastrophic fall in the office parking lot. You're dressed for success and, possibly, a last-minute aerobics class. Let's talk about getting dressed in the 1980s. Your closet is a riot of polyester, houndstooth, and more shades of pastel than a Miami Beach sunrise. Each morning, you stare into the abyss of your wardrobe, mentally calculating which combination of blazer and skirt will make you look most like a television anchor and least like you've just lost a wrestling match with a clearance bin at Kmart. The power suit is non-negotiable. Somewhere, an executive with a mullet and a motivational poster decided that a working woman needed to look like a linebacker in the boardroom and an aerobics instructor in the parking lot. So you shimmy into a double-breasted jacket. The shoulder pads so wide you could conceivably smuggle a small child, or, at the very least, a week's supply of Dexatrim inside them. The matching skirt is pencil-thin, restricting your stride to that of an anxious duck, and the whole ensemble is topped off with a silk bow so aggressively perky it could double as a flotation device. Now, the nylons. The most fragile barrier between your skin and the reality of office furniture. The box claims they are run-resistant, which is a lie on par with one-size-fits-all or microwave-safe. You get exactly one shot to pull them up without catching a hangnail or brushing against the edge of a nail file hiding in your purse. Success feels like winning the lottery. Failure means you spend the rest of the day pretending the run is avant-garde. And then, the shoes. Oh, the shoes. You have your high heels, a shiny, pointy-toed threat to ankle health everywhere. And you have your running shoes, usually gleaming white Reeboks that live for their brief moments of glory between the car and the office lobby. No one actually jogs in these shoes. They are the armor against treacherous parking lots, black ice, and those strange gravel pits every office seems to have for no apparent reason. You clutch your heels in a plastic shopping bag, planning to switch footwear in the elevator. A ritual as sacred as morning coffee, and twice as fraught with peril. Accessories are a minefield, earrings big enough to receive satellite signals. A belt that cinches your waist so tightly you're not sure if it's a statement or a medical device. Bracelets that jangle with every movement. announcing your presence to the entire floor like a one-woman percussion section. Your bag is less of a purse and more of a portable filing cabinet, lipstick, breath mints, spare pantyhose, 3 types of pens, and a can of hairspray, just in case your helmet hair starts to list to port. You pass the mirror and pause. Are you a high-powered professional? An extra in a workout video? Maybe a distant cousin of a transformer? No time to ponder. There are children to dress, lunches to pack, and keys to lose. You make your way out the door, balancing a travel mug, your kids' missing math homework, and an existential sense of doom about whether the dry cleaner removed last week's mustard stain. On the way to the car, you catch a glimpse of yourself in a passing window. You look prepared. Not necessarily for the job you have, but for whatever the 1980s might hurl at you. A surprise fire drill, an impromptu power walk, or an emergency dance-off in the copy room. Your outfit says, "I can do it all," as long as nothing snags. And as you squeeze into the driver's seat, careful not to crease your skirt or pop a shoulder pad, you remind yourself, fashion is a battlefield, but you are a survivor, armed with aquanet and optimism. Bring on the day. The carpool line is a demolition derby. Someone's kid forgot their lunch. Your coffee spills as you swerve around a rogue skateboard. All the while, your brain is buzzing, maybe from nerves, maybe from that extra strength formula you took on an empty stomach. Let's set the scene. It's 7:48 a.m., and you are trapped in a line of wood-paneled station wagons, minivans, the size of oil tankers, and at least one bright orange AMC Pacer, driven by a parent whose patience expired sometime in 1979. Horns honk in polite Morse code. Move up, why are you stopped? And I can see your kid, but I have to be at work in 6 minutes or I'll lose my dental plan. The crossing guard waves everyone along with the resigned enthusiasm of someone who's seen it all. Rain, sleet, and last year's PTA chair still wearing a neck brace from the juice box incident. The smell inside your car is a blend of wet sneakers, fruit roll-ups, and something that might once have been a chicken nugget. You are sweating, but you can't open the windows because it's either freezing or you're convinced the neighbors will smell the lingering stench of panic and off-brand air freshener. As you inch closer to the drop-off zone, your kids are in the back seat, frantically packing their backpacks with yesterday's homework, loose crayons, and a handful of questionable raisins found between the seats. One is shrieking that they've forgotten their lunch. Another claims to have left their gym shoes at Grandma's house, who lives 3 states away. Someone else is crying because their Tamagotchi died. Again, the teachers on duty have perfected the 1,000-yard stare. They open car doors with the speed and efficiency of pit crew members, all while saying, "Have a great day," with a voice so monotone it could be used to test the emergency broadcast system. You try to sound calm as you nudge your kids out, but it comes out as a high-pitched plea. Just go, go. Don't forget your clarinet. Meanwhile, the line behind you is already 3 cars longer than it was 30 seconds ago. As your youngest child clings to you like a barnacle, you remember that you promised to bring cupcakes for the class party. Today, you haven't bought cupcakes. You haven't bought anything. You make a mental note, knowing full well that by noon you'll be improvising with a sleeve of saltines and whatever frosting is left from last Christmas. A rogue skateboard, nobody knows who it belongs to, flies across the parking lot, nearly colliding with your front tire. Your coffee, precariously balanced on the dashboard, topples and soaks through your last clean travel mug napkin. There's no time to mourn. You're already late, and the day has barely begun. As you finally escape the school grounds, you see a mom in a business suit sprinting across the playground in pumps, waving a forgotten lunchbox. Another parent is negotiating with a child over whether or not a jelly stain constitutes business casual. At least one car alarm is going off. Somewhere, a minivan blares Cyndi Lauper at maximum volume, a rallying cry for everyone just trying to get through the morning. The adrenaline fades and is replaced by that familiar post-drop-off emptiness. Equal parts, relief and exhaustion. Your brain is still humming from the diet pill. Your nerves are frayed. And you suddenly remember, you have a meeting in 20 minutes. The real race is just beginning. You drive off, half-empty coffee cup trembling in your cup holder, ready to do it all again tomorrow. Because in the great suburban obstacle course of the 1980s, surviving the school drop-off isn't just an errand, it's an Olympic event. And somehow, you're a gold medalist. The elevator is out of order again, but that's okay. You've never felt more energized. Your heart is tap dancing. Your desk is covered in sticky notes, motivational posters, and half-eaten granola bars. Is this empowerment or just caffeine psychosis? You stride through the lobby, breathless but determined, dodging a gauntlet of ferns that look suspiciously plastic and at least one co-worker with a perm bigger than your ambitions. The stairwell is already full, people muttering about the broken elevator and the merits of stair climbing as cardio. You tell yourself it's fine, you're practically superwoman. You're fueled by 3 diet colas, a maximum strength breakfast supplement, and the kind of nervous energy usually reserved for raccoons on garbage night. Inside the office, the air hums with the constant drone of cheap fluorescent lights. You glance up and half expect to see a bug zapper. Your workspace is a cubicle with carpeted walls and a window that faces nothing but a brick wall and someone's half-deflated Garfield balloon. The desk is a shrine to controlled chaos. Stacks of manila folders, a plastic organizer full of pens that don't work, and an actual Rolodex, remember those? Stuffed with contacts who haven't been called since the Carter administration. You boot up your computer, a hulking beige box that takes 5 minutes and emits a sound like a distant tornado warning. The monitor glows with the green font of possibility, or at least with the promise of Minesweeper on your lunch break. As the computer chugs, you make your way through your morning ritual, check the sticky notes. Some are old grocery lists, one is just a doodle of a screaming cat. Then glance at your motivational poster. Success is a journey, not a destination. You wonder if the person who wrote that ever had to share a bathroom with 4 other women in pantyhose. The phone rings, a plastic rectangle that weighs roughly as much as your purse. It's your boss, reminding you about the 9:30 team huddle. Or is it the 9:15? You hang up, already doubting your memory. Meetings are the real wild animals in this office jungle. They appear suddenly, devour all your free time, and are rarely, if ever, productive. You gather your notes, your second can of Diet Cola, and head to the conference room, where the whiteboard still says Quona Vision in faded marker from 3 months ago. Back at your desk, you try to focus. But it's hard, because the radio is blaring top 40 hits. Someone is microwaving leftover fish, and the copier is making a noise that is definitely not OSHA compliant. The office smells faintly of burnt popcorn, desperation, and a hint of floral air freshener, as if someone tried to mask the existential dread with a can of Glade. You respond to memos, shuffle papers, and make phone calls using a phone tree so complicated it requires a degree in advanced logic. You are empowered, according to the Breakroom poster. You are valued, says the sticky note your supervisor left, right after sending you a third gentle reminder about the TPS reports. You smile, nod, and keep working, partly because you have ambition, but mostly because you're too caffeinated to sit still. Lunch comes and goes, some combination of lean cuisine, celery sticks, and another diet pill for dessert. Your stomach grumbles, but you soldier on. You glance around and realize everyone here is just barely holding it together. united by a love of free coffee, a terror of missing a memo, and the shared delusion that Dress Down Friday actually makes work more enjoyable. By 3 p.m., the hum of the fluorescent lights has become background music for your anxious internal monologue. The day blurs. More calls, more forms, more motivational posters. Is it empowerment? Is it madness? Or is it just surviving another day in the fluorescent jungle, one sticky note at a time? Either way, you made it. That's what counts. The break room smells like scorched popcorn and chemical sweetener. A colleague offers you a diet cookie. You pretend to eat it. Everyone is sharing weight loss tips, none of which sound remotely healthy. This is not a European cafe. This is not a lounge with soft jazz and tiny spoons. This is a small, windowless room illuminated by fluorescent lights, so harsh you can see the sadness etched into the beige tile floor. There's a microwave, older than your firstborn, whose sole function is to violently overheat frozen burritos and explode spaghetti sauce in a pattern that defies both physics and basic decency. You stand at the counter, swirling non-dairy creamer into instant coffee that was already bitter before you even added the pink sweetener. Someone has left a box of generic, healthy treats in the center of the table, most of them individually wrapped in plastic so crinkly it could double as an alarm system. You pick up a diet cookie, which is technically both a food and a warning label. The texture is somewhere between roof shingle and packing peanut, and the taste can only be described as cinnamon adjacent. You chew thoughtfully, nod, and when no one's looking, slide the rest into your purse for later disposal, probably in a planter, if history is any guide. The conversation, such as it is, follows a script written in desperation. Have you tried the grapefruit diet? Someone asks, as though you haven't already suffered through that particular flavor of citrus disappointment. Another swears by a new brand of meal replacement shake that tastes just like chocolate. You smile supportively. Everyone knows it tastes like a chocolate memory filtered through wallpaper paste. There's a woman by the window, which is painted shut for reasons of energy efficiency, who swears she lost 7 pounds just by switching to sugar-free gum and taking the stairs twice a week. She looks tired. Another colleague launches into a speech about a revolutionary new workout tape somewhere between calisthenics and public humiliation. Someone else just read an article about the dangers of eating after 7 p.m. It's science, they say, clutching their styrofoam cup with the ferocity of a caffeine-deprived raccoon. You nod and sip your coffee, pretending to listen, but really you're mentally counting the minutes until you can go back to your desk and eat the emergency granola bar you've hidden in your pencil drawer. Every so often, someone opens the fridge. It's a hazardous maneuver. The inside is a graveyard of expired yogurt, salad dressing that predates MTV, and a single, shriveled carrot that no one will admit to owning. A Tupperware container in the back seems to move on its own. You close the door quietly, so as not to awaken whatever lives within. The only real oasis is the vending machine, standing tall in the corner like a relic from a lost civilization. You consider getting a snack, but the choices are bleak. 2 stale granola bars, a packet of sunflower seeds, and something called energy crisps that might just be seasoned insulation. A coworker jokes about trading a diet soda for a Twinkie, but you all know that the Twinkie will outlast the building. Eventually, the conversation shifts to who has the best doctor, whose scale is the most forgiving, and which local pharmacy is running a special on energy boosters. No one mentions sleep. No one mentions stress. These are not problems. These are simply the water you swim in. Break time ends when someone's watch beeps, a Pavlovian trigger. You all shuffle back to your desks, more anxious than rested, clutching mugs and dreams of lunch. The break room clears, leaving behind only the lingering scent of burnt popcorn and unspoken longing. In the fluorescent jungle, Sometimes a break from reality is the only thing on the menu. Your microwave lunch is still frozen in the middle but boiling at the edges. You chase it down with another diet pill, because nothing says balanced meal like eating a hockey puck and a handful of amphetamines. It's noon, and the office smells like a potluck for people who hate each other. Someone is reheating fish. Someone else is bravely microwaving broccoli, which will now linger in the break room air until Thanksgiving. You slide your lean cuisine onto the rotating plate, punch in a guess at the right number of minutes, and pray. The microwave grinds to life, making noises you're fairly certain violate several workplace safety codes. You stare through the tiny window, watching your chicken parmesan do slow, nuclear laps. It's a ritual of hope and resignation. Sometimes the cheese melts into a delightful puddle. Sometimes it becomes a congealed plastic shield, impervious to both forks and flavor. Your expectations are so low, you could limbo under them. Ding. Lunch is ready, or at least ready adjacent. You peel off the film, release a cloud of steam hotter than the sun, and discover that while the corners are scalding enough to strip paint, the middle is still an ice cube of disappointment. You poke it with your fork, stir the contents with the kind of grim determination reserved for medieval alchemists, and accept your fate. At least it's food. Sort of. You sit at a table with 3 co-workers. One is trying to read the calorie label on a can of diet soda without her glasses. Another is quietly eating a salad that looks like it was grown in a parking lot. The third is talking about the latest fad, grapefruit, cabbage soup, maybe something involving cayenne pepper and self-loathing. You nod along, contemplating the wisdom of nutritionists who definitely haven't seen the inside of a staff break room since 1972. You pop another diet pill, washing it down with lukewarm coffee or, if you're feeling fancy, a can of Crystal Light. The label on the bottle shouts energy, clarity, results. The side effects list, printed in microscopic font, hints at insomnia, dry mouth, and the occasional existential crisis. You shrug. The hunger is gone, replaced by a strange, fizzy nervousness that makes it possible to alphabetize your files at lightning speed. You consider this progress. As you chew on a bite of chicken that has the density of recycled rubber, you try not to think about what's in it. The broccoli floret tastes like green, but not like vegetable. The apple cobbler is mostly cinnamon, a flavor note meant to distract from the rubbery mystery beneath. You remember the TV commercial, happy, slender women beaming at each other as they twirl fettuccine with grace and ease. You look at your own lunch. It is not twirlable. You make small talk, the kind that never leaves the break room. Busy day? Weather's weird. Can you believe they raised parking fees again? Conversation is measured, careful. You all pretend you aren't watching each other's lunches, comparing portions, judging, calculating who is winning the secret contest no one signed up for. Halfway through, someone offers you a cookie. You decline politely, waving your plastic fork as if warding off a vampire. Sugar is the enemy, at least until 3 p.m., when it will become your only friend. You finish the meal, stack the empty tray, and wipe a bit of congealed sauce from your sleeve. Lunch is over. You're neither full nor satisfied, but you are, technically, nourished. You return to your desk slightly jittery, stomach rumbling in protest, ready to ride the diet pill's artificial energy through another afternoon. This is balance, 1980s style, microwave mediocrity, chemical courage, and the hope that maybe, just maybe, dinner will be better. Spoiler, it won't. But you'll keep pretending. Around 2 p.m., the diet pill wears off and reality comes crashing in. Your hands are shaking. You'd kill for a nap, or maybe just for someone to invent a reasonable work-life balance. This is the part of the day no one warned you about, when time itself enters a strange reverse gear. The office clock ticks with a cruel, deliberate slowness, the second hand practically moonwalking as you stare it down. You swear it was 2:14 5 minutes ago. Now it's 2:13. How is that even possible? Somewhere in a fluorescent-lit corner, you imagine a physics professor quietly weeping. You're still at your desk, but your posture has deteriorated. You've started to resemble one of those melting clocks from a Dali painting. If Dali had painted exhausted office workers instead of surreal nightmares. Your hair, once shellacked and invincible, is beginning to wilt. There are faint caffeine tremors in your hands. Your jaw aches from politely smiling through 5 hours of small talk, and your eyes have that special 1980s glaze that comes from reading both spreadsheets and motivational posters for too long. The energy from the morning, caffeine, diet pills, sheer existential adrenaline, has all fizzled out. Now your brain feels like it's being powered by the last AA battery in the junk drawer, the one you keep because maybe it still works for the TV remote. You reach for your emergency snack, a pack of sugar-free gum, 2 saltines, or, in truly desperate moments, that lone, fossilized butterscotch you found at the bottom of your purse. Across the office, your co-workers are faring no better. One is half asleep at her typewriter, chin propped on her hand, while another pretends to make copies just to stand near the humming warmth of the machine. The radio is tuned to soft rock, but even Hall & Oates can't lift your spirits at this hour. The Breakroom coffee pot has boiled down to a mysterious tar, but you pour a cup anyway, hoping it jolts you back to consciousness instead of just eroding your insides. You stare at your inbox, willing the number of messages to decrease by telepathy alone. But the emails multiply like rabbits on NutraSweet. Your boss walks by, cheerfully reminding you about a deadline that feels as distant as retirement. You nod, jot a note you'll never read, and wonder how anyone is still vertical. What you want is simple, a nap so deep and restorative it erases every memory of carb-free lunches and copy machine jams. But office napping is not part of the corporate culture. Not yet. Instead, you try to look busy. You realign your sticky notes. You sharpen pencils. You reread a memo from January, wondering if you've misunderstood the word synergy this entire time. If you're lucky, you'll get a quick bathroom break. There, in the chilly solitude of a linoleum-tiled stall, you have your existential crisis in peace. Are you living or just surviving? Is this empowerment or Stockholm Syndrome with a pension plan? Would your life be different if you'd said yes to that traveling puppet troupe after college? Back at your desk, someone floats the idea of another diet soda run. The group collectively perks up. You all shuffle to the vending machine like office zombies, dollar bills in hand, praying for the sweet, cold rush of carbonation and aspartame to push you through to quitting time. Eventually, it's 2:47. Progress. Barely. You scrawl, "Hang in there," on a fresh sticky note and slap it to your monitor. You watch the clock. You dream of sunlight. And you wait, knowing the longest hour of the day is still ahead. But, somehow, you're still here. Because in the 1980s, perseverance isn't just an attitude, it's the only way to survive the afternoon slump. You're nodding furiously at your boss while writing your grocery list and planning dinner. Someone brings donuts. You eat one in a trance and immediately regret it. The guilt will last for the rest of the decade. Let's talk about meetings in the 1980s. That sacred ritual where everyone gathers around a long faux wood table under the gentle hum of flickering fluorescent lights, clutching legal pads and pretending they've read the agenda. You shuffle in, balancing a coffee that tastes like hot regret and a folder full of papers you may or may not have actually glanced at since last week's meeting. The boss stands at the front, armed with a chart on an easel, and the kind of over-enthusiasm usually reserved for game show hosts and cult leaders. He's talking about synergy, quarterly projections, and something called a paradigm shift. You nod like you understand, but your mind is already miles away. weighing the merits of chicken versus beef for dinner, mentally reviewing which child has soccer and which one has a science project due. Did you remember to buy cat food? Did you ever return that library book? These are the real questions. Across the table, you notice a coworker has drawn a very detailed, surprisingly lifelike horse on her notepad. Someone else is surreptitiously playing with a Rubik's Cube beneath the desk. The intern is awake, but only just. Most people look attentive, but it's the glassy-eyed attention of a group hypnosis session. No one is listening. Everyone is surviving. Suddenly, as if summoned by an ancient office spell, someone wheels in a box of donuts, an offering to the productivity gods. The mood lifts. There's a brief, unspoken truce as everyone lunges for the Boston creme and the soul-surviving jelly. You reach out, almost against your will, and take a powdered sugar ring. It tastes like forbidden joy. You eat it without thinking. A trance-like state induced by boredom and low blood sugar. For a few fleeting moments, the world is soft, sweet, and full of promise. Then the guilt sets in. Was it worth it? How many calories was that? Why is your boss talking about personal accountability just as you lick powdered sugar off your thumb? You swear this is the last time you'll break your diet at work. A vow you will immediately break the next time someone brings in anything carb-adjacent. The meeting drones on. A graph is projected onto the wall. It might be sales numbers, or it might be your vital signs after that donut. It's hard to tell. Your boss asks if anyone has any action items. Silence. Someone coughs. You look very busy by scribbling on your legal pad. Your handwriting is now so small, it looks like a new form of encryption. Finally, the subject shifts to team building. There is talk of trust falls, motivational workshops, and, worst of all, an office fun run. You nod enthusiastically while secretly plotting how to fake a hamstring injury. Someone else volunteers to organize the potluck. You pray you aren't assigned the main course. Maybe you can get away with napkins again. The meeting winds down. Action steps are summarized. Everyone pretends to write them down, though half the room is doodling and the other half is adding wine to their grocery lists. Your boss wraps it all up with a peppy reminder to be your best self. No one in history has ever felt less like their best self than they do in this moment. You file out of the conference room, mind buzzing, stomach slightly queasy, and swear, once again, to never eat meeting donuts. Until next time, because in the 1980s, no one is really paying attention, but everyone is really faking it. The phone rings, and it's your child's school nurse. Someone has a fever, or maybe just needs a hug. You make promises you can't keep while searching your purse for another tiny miracle pill. It's the middle of your workday, and the office phone, beige, heavy, with a spiral cord that could anchor a boat, blasts its shrill ringtone. There is no caller ID, only hope and terror in equal measure. You pick up, bracing for anything from a telemarketer to the IRS. Instead, it's Nurse Barb from the elementary school, voice soothing and faintly judgmental, letting you know that little Timmy isn't feeling quite himself. He's either coming down with something or running an advanced scam for a popsicle and early dismissal. You glance at your packed calendar. Already a patchwork of meetings, deadlines, and post. It reminders written in the kind of frantic shorthand only you can decipher. You apologize to Nurse Barb, your boss, the universe. You promise you'll be there soon, or at least send someone soon, which is 1980s code for hoping a grandparent or neighbor owes you a favor. You make up something about a very important work project, which everyone knows is probably just another pointless meeting, but the guilt is real and deep. You hang up and immediately check your purse for reinforcements. A travel-sized bottle of aspirin, a few Tic Tacs, the emergency diet pill you swore you'd stop taking, and 3 half-crushed tissues. You consider downing the aspirin, but settle for the diet pill. At least it'll help you power through the next 2 hours on nerves and placebo alone. The phone rings again. This time, it's your partner, calling from a payphone or possibly a fax machine. Did you remember to pick up the dry cleaning? Who's getting the kids after soccer? Did you RSVP to Aunt Carol's Tupperware party? Every call is an ambush. Each question a pop quiz you haven't studied for. You scribble answers on the corner of a quarterly sales report and hope you'll remember what Carol, bring dip, means by the time you get home. Not to be outdone. Your boss swings by to check on those action items. You nod, smile, and discreetly shove the phone receiver out of sight. Multitasking is the name of the game. One ear on the meeting, one ear on your own pulse. Both eyes scanning for the next incoming crisis. In the 1980s, long distance isn't just about geography. It's the emotional distance between the life you're living and the one you wish you had the energy for. Meanwhile, the phone is a lifeline and a leash. You're constantly waiting for news, good or bad. A friend might call just to chat for an hour and blow your entire lunch break. Your mum might check in, demanding updates on everything from your health to your kids' grades to why you don't write more letters. And then there's the dreaded phone tree. An endless chain of calls relaying crucial information about bake sales and school field trips. Miss one branch of the phone tree, and you're the parent who sends their kid to school in a Halloween costume on Arbor Day. Between calls, you try to get actual work done, but your focus is as scattered as the coupons floating around your purse. You glance at the clock. Only 2 hours until you can escape to your car, where you'll spend 10 blessed minutes alone before the after-school tornado resumes. In those final minutes, the phone rings one last time. A robocall, a wrong number, or just the universe reminding you that peace is temporary. You inhale, exhale, and slip another tiny pill from your purse. Your own little ritual for surviving the landline labyrinth of the 1980s. The day isn't over, but you've survived another round. In a world where every call could upend your plans, you hold it together with a wobbly smile, a well-stocked purse, and the hope that tomorrow's ring will bring better news, or at least a 2-hour window of silence. You arrive at the school meeting late, clutching a tray of healthy brownies made with applesauce and denial. The other moms are suspiciously peppy. You suspect they're on the same prescription. You step into the multi-purpose room, immediately assaulted by the scent of industrial-strength floor cleaner and that faint undertone of old glue sticks. Folding chairs are arranged in aggressively perfect rows. At the front sits the PTA president, a woman with helmet hair, color-coordinated sweater set, and the kind of clipboard that could double as a medieval weapon. She flashes a smile so wide you can see her molars, beckoning you toward the snack table. You slide your brownies among an army of competitive treats, zucchini muffins, oat clusters, rice cakes sculpted into Disney characters. All are labeled guilt-free, which, in the 1980s, just means they've replaced butter with something vaguely synthetic. You look at your own tray. The brownies are dense, square, and oozing with the shame of knowing you substituted applesauce for half the sugar and used carob chips instead of chocolate. You stick a toothpick in one and hope for the best. The other moms are already deep in conversation, whispering, laughing too loud, tossing their hair with practiced ease. Everyone looks suspiciously alert. Cheeks aglow with the kind of energy you can't get from a carrot stick. You suspect at least 3 are riding the same diet pill buzz you are, but everyone's too polite to say it out loud. Someone passes around a sign-up sheet for the annual carnival. You fake a sudden coughing fit to buy yourself time. The volunteer jobs are a minefield: cakewalk chaperone, face painting, ticket sales, or, worst of all, coordinating the cake baking contest, which is basically the Hunger Games for suburban moms. You circle cup stacking and pray no one notices. The meeting starts. The PTA president launches into the agenda, voice as bright and relentless as a morning infomercial. Topics include healthy fundraising options, recycling initiatives, and why our kids should never eat red dye, number 40. There's a slideshow featuring charts that look suspiciously like the office budget you ignored earlier, and at least one pie graph labeled snack participation. Meanwhile, you're half listening, half dreaming about your bed. Your mind flits between topics. How many more permission slips are buried in your purse? Whether you thawed anything for dinner, if your youngest child's science project will once again involve gluing googly eyes to a potato. Someone brings up the Halloween party. A debate erupts. Homemade costumes versus store-bought. The creative mom, she once made a working volcano out of papier-mâché and hot glue, volunteers to lead a committee. You avoid eye contact, hoping to slip under the radar. No such luck. Someone asks if you can bring healthy snacks next time. You nod, already plotting how to pass off store-bought celery as your own. Midway through, a child bursts in, clutching a bloody nose and a permission slip. The meeting pauses while two moms spring into action with band-aids and an ice pack from a purse that could stock a small pharmacy. You wonder, for the 1,000th time, if you're doing this right, or if anyone really is. Beneath the Tupperware smiles and marathon-level organization, the final agenda item is self-care. Everyone nods solemnly and then immediately ignores it, returning to their calendars and checklists. The meeting wraps. The brownies are gone, either eaten or stuffed into someone's purse for later analysis. You gather your things, already rehearsing tomorrow's excuses. As you exit, another mom hands you a flyer for a wellness seminar and whispers, "They're serving sugar-free punch." You smile, thank her, and walk to your car, feeling like you just finished a decathlon, one that somehow counts, but you're never quite sure who's keeping score. In the Olympics of PTA, survival is victory. And you, against all odds, are still in the race. It's 7 p.m. You're at jazzercise, moving in ways the human body was not designed to move. The instructor is shouting about burning calories. Your legs are on fire, but at least the music is good. This is the after-hours ritual of the working mom in the 1980s. The sacred pilgrimage to the local rec center, church basement, or strip mall fitness studio, where every surface is carpeted and every mirror is brutally honest. You enter in your neon leotard, leggings yanked so high they double as a second bra, and a sweatband that's equal parts fashion statement and desperate attempt at damage control. Your Reeboks squeak on the floor as you stake out your favorite spot, second row, close enough to see the instructor, but far enough that you won't lock eyes with anyone during the pelvic tilts. Around you, the room fills with women in every hue of spandex. Some are serious, faces set with grim determination, as if auditioning for the Olympics of cardiovascular humiliation. Others are clearly just here for the soundtrack, synth-heavy pop, Michael Jackson, Madonna, and the occasional flash of Olivia Newton-John. The lights are bright, the mood is weirdly competitive, and somewhere, someone's leg warmers are already falling down. The instructor is a force of nature, cheerful, relentless, and probably powered by the same pills in your medicine cabinet. She claps her hands, bounces like she's made of pure adrenaline, and shouts encouragement over the beat. "Let's burn it! Pump it up! You can do anything for 60 seconds!" You believe her for about 30 of those seconds, and then you're reconsidering your life choices. The warm-up is deceptively gentle. March in place, swing your arms, smile like you're having fun. But then the real work begins. The music swells, and suddenly you're grapevining, step-touching, and jazz-handing like your mortgage depends on it. High knees, butt kicks, arm circles. The instructor hollers, "Reach for your dreams." And you do. But mostly you're reaching for oxygen. You sneak a glance at the clock. It's only been 5 minutes. The sweatband is failing. The leotard is attempting to migrate north. Your thighs are on fire, your calves are rebelling, and you're pretty sure you just pulled something in a muscle you didn't know existed. Across the room, 2 women are whisper fighting over who got the last mat. In the corner, a pair of best friends are giggling through the moves, never quite getting the steps right, but looking happier than anyone has a right to be in a room that smells like rubber and ambition. Suddenly, it's time for floor work. You collapse onto a mat, grateful for the chance to stop standing, but quickly regret it as the instructor barks out instructions for crunches, bridges, and leg lifts. You do your best being defined as didn't audibly groan more than twice. For a brief, delusional moment, you consider actually buying a thigh master. Cooldown arrives at last. The music softens. The instructor guides everyone through deep breathing and a stretch, her voice suddenly gentle. Be proud of yourselves. You showed up. You did it. You lay on your back, breathing hard, feeling both exhausted and oddly triumphant. Maybe you'll do this again tomorrow. Maybe you'll just wear the leotard around the house and call it a win. As you file out, the camaraderie is real. High fives, knowing smiles, jokes about collapsing into bed before your hair even dries. Your muscles ache, but your mood is lighter. For 45 minutes, you forgot about deadlines, diets, and the endless to-do list. All that mattered was the beat, the burn, and surviving another session of leotards and lycra dreams. And as you step into the night air, sweaty, sore, but somehow alive, you realize that for all its madness, aerobics after dark is the one 80s ritual you might just keep. Back home, you throw together a casserole from condensed soup, tuna, and existential dread. The kids complain. Your spouse is late. You briefly consider running away to join a commune. It's 6:15 p.m. and the kitchen feels like a battleground. You're armed only with a can opener, a half-empty box of elbow macaroni, and whatever willpower you have left after surviving jazzercise and the PTA. The pantry is a gallery of processed foods. Cream of mushroom soup, canned peas, a rogue box of hamburger helper, and at least 3 different brands of crackers that all taste exactly like cardboard. Tonight's dinner plan, one-pot wonder. Just toss everything into a single dish and bake until edible. This is the culinary spirit of the 1980s, a decade when every meal could be a surprise, sometimes even for the chef. You dump the condensed soup, tuna, and noodles into a glass casserole dish. Add a dash of garlic powder, for sophistication, and stir until it looks vaguely like the picture in the Betty Crocker book. A final flourish. A layer of crushed potato chips for crunch, because nothing says gourmet like reconstituted starch. You slide it into the oven and pray. While it bakes, you do a frantic sweep of the living room, gathering abandoned socks, overdue library books, and the weird sticky spot on the carpet you hope is just juice. The kids wander in, noses wrinkling. "What is that smell?" they ask in the tone of someone interrogating a war criminal. You tell them it's casserole, with the same conviction you use when promising that Santa Claus reads every letter. They protest. "Why can't we have pizza? Did you put peas in it? Are those potato chips on top?" You counter with the classic, "This is dinner. You can pick out the peas." And yes, those are potato chips. It's called texture. The table is set, mostly. There are 3 forks, 1 spoon, and a plastic knife that will be used for everything. A glass of milk for each kid, a can of Tab for you, and a sippy cup for the youngest, who is currently trying to color on the dog. You call everyone to the table, but your spouse texts to say they'll be late, again. Traffic, they claim. But you know it's the quicksand of corporate America. One more call, one more memo, one more chance to avoid family drama. Dinner begins. The casserole is served, steaming and slightly bubbling. You dig in, trying not to think about what, exactly, is in each bite. The taste is comfortingly bland, like nostalgia with a hint of regret. The kids stage a minor revolt, claiming hunger but pushing peas around their plates with the skill of future diplomats. You consider letting it go, but the ghost of 1980s nutrition advice haunts you. Clean your plate or no dessert. Dessert tonight? Probably pudding from a box, if you can muster the energy to whisk. Conversation attempts are made. Someone recounts a playground drama involving a rogue soccer ball and an unkind third grader. Someone else needs help with fractions. The youngest asks what happens if you eat glue. You smile, nod, and answer with half your brain, the other half fantasizing about a rustic commune in Vermont where dinner is silent and everyone brings their own plate. Eventually, your spouse walks in, apologetic, setting off another round of microwaving and polite chaos. You watch the family, exhausted but fed, and realize this is what dinner is: messy, noisy, imperfect, and real. As you scrape the last bits of casserole into Tupperware for tomorrow's lunch, you wonder if you'll ever find balance. But tonight, you've managed another meal, another day, and survived the peculiar drama of the 1980s family dinner. And sometimes, that's enough. It's 8 p.m. Someone needs help with math, the dog is eating crayons, and you can't remember if you paid the water bill. At least you still have energy, possibly thanks to the extra supplement you snuck in before dinner. This is the true witching hour of the 1980s suburban household, a time when the last shreds of order unravel and your to-do list mutates into a living, breathing entity. The kitchen is still a disaster zone from the one-pot wonder experiment you called dinner. Pots are soaking, plates are crusted with what might have once been peas, and someone has left a half-eaten pudding cup wedged behind the toaster. The dishwasher, valiantly humming, threatens to launch into orbit. In the living room, chaos reigns. One child is slumped on the carpet, pencil in hand, dramatically sighing over a mountain of long division. "Can you help me with this, Mom? It doesn't make sense." You stare at the worksheet. Numbers blur. You try to recall a single fact about fractions, but your brain, now a strange brew of caffeine, diet pills, and nostalgia for your own school days, offers only static. "Let's try using scratch paper," you suggest, as if more paper will solve the existential mystery of word problems about trains leaving Chicago. Meanwhile, the dog has found a box of crayons and is enthusiastically chewing his way through the color spectrum. You debate intervening, non-toxic, right? But decide it's not the weirdest thing he's eaten this week. You make a mental note to check tomorrow's output for signs of a rainbow. Somewhere, a voice yells, "Has anyone seen my backpack?" Another voice, smaller but shriller, is negotiating for one more episode of the A-Team. A third, your own inner voice, reminds you that you meant to pay the water bill at lunch. But now you're not sure if you did or just wrote "water bill" on a sticky note. You check the stack of bills on the counter. There it is, winking at you. Tomorrow, you swear, it's getting paid. Laundry? It's everywhere. A pile on the stairs, a basket in the hallway, a collection of mismatched socks so large it may qualify as a separate household. You start a new load, whispering a little prayer to the Maytag gods. Maybe tonight, everything will dry on the first cycle. Your spouse wanders in, looking both apologetic and exhausted, clutching their own to-do list and a briefcase that has never actually held a brief. They ask if you remembered to sign the permission slip. You haven't, but you fake confidence, rooting through stacks of paper and last year's art projects until you find the crumpled form and a pen with just enough ink to sign your name. Another crisis, sort of, averted. Amid the chaos, you still find pockets of peace. A child hugs you, sticky-fingered and grateful, after finally solving a math problem. The dog curls up at your feet, tired from his crayon feast. For a fleeting moment, You feel weirdly invincible, a domestic superhero powered by artificial stimulants and sheer willpower. You wipe down the counters, toss the last load in the dryer, and glance at the clock. 8:47 p.m. Not bad. The house is quieting down, kids yawning and drifting toward bed, the familiar static of a sitcom theme song humming in the background. There are still socks on the stairs, bills on the counter, and dishes in the sink. But the world, for the moment, feels under control. This is Housework and Homework in the 1980s. Relentless, ridiculous, and real. You're exhausted, but still upright, and somehow you know you'll do it all again tomorrow, with a little help from your secret stash of extra supplements. The kitchen is dark, but the fridge is calling. You eat 2 bites of sugar-free pudding, feel instantly guilty, and resolve to do better tomorrow. Tomorrow you'll have willpower. Maybe. It's past 10 p.m., the sacred hour when all good intentions dissolve and the rules of nutrition enter a kind of legal grey area. The house is mostly quiet, except for the gentle hum of the fridge, which, at this time of night, is both your adversary and your only friend. You wander barefoot across the sticky linoleum, careful not to step on anything left behind by a child or a dog with a creative streak. You open the refrigerator door, its light spilling out like a portal to another dimension. Cold air wafts over your face, tinged with the scent of deli meat, last week's leftovers, and the faint, hopeful whiff of something sweet. The shelves are a patchwork of partially eaten dinners, containers with cryptic labels like chili, maybe, and a bottle of diet soda that's been there since Memorial Day. Your stomach growls in a way that feels both physical and emotional, a hunger for something you can't quite define. You reach for the sugar-free pudding. It promises guilt-free indulgence right there on the label, which in the 1980s is just code for slightly less disappointing than celery. The first spoonful is cold, smooth, and tastes vaguely like what chocolate would be if you explained it over the phone. You eat another bite, and suddenly the fridge contents look judgmental. The celery stalks, the half-eaten jello, the foil-wrapped brick of what you hope is cheese, all silently accusing you. You close the fridge, pudding cup in hand, and lean against the counter. The kitchen clock ticks, the only witness to your tiny rebellion. You think, tomorrow I'll wake up early, make a smoothie, do Jane Fonda before breakfast, and never think about pudding again. You know this is a lie, but it's a comforting one. Down the hall a floorboard creaks. Was that a child? Or just the house settling into its evening aches and groans? You freeze, pudding spoon hovering, as if caught in the act. You feel like a raccoon with a midnight snack. Except the only thing you're stealing is your own fleeting dignity. The guilt settles in with the speed of a sitcom plot twist. You replay every dietary decision made today, the lean cuisine, the diet cookie, the after-dinner extra supplement, and wonder how your mother did it in the age before nutritional labels and low-fat hysteria. You wonder if anyone, ever, has felt truly satisfied after a day of calculated deprivation and artificial sweetener. You rinse the cup and spoon, hiding the evidence at the bottom of the trash like a criminal mastermind. You pad back toward the living room, pausing to fold a stray towel or retrieve a sock abandoned on the couch. A final check of the doors, the windows, the list of things undone. You promise yourself, again, that tomorrow will be different. Maybe you'll finally embrace moderation. Maybe you'll skip the supplements and the pudding and just go to bed early, like people in magazine ads. Maybe you'll accept that sometimes survival means pudding at midnight, and that's okay. You slip into bed, the kitchen finally still. Your mind drifts, already rewriting history. Tomorrow, you'll have willpower, energy, discipline, serenity. Maybe, but for tonight, you're just someone who answered the fridge's call, and somehow, that feels almost heroic. As the house settles and the last of the day's worries fade, you let yourself rest. Because in the 1980s, like every other decade, perfection is a myth, and late-night snacks are forever. Once a week, you're lured into a neighbor's living room with the promise of free punch and plastic burping bowls. Diet tips are exchanged like state secrets. Everyone is low-key competing to be most improved. It's Thursday evening, and the cul-de-sac comes alive with the quiet, determined shuffle of working mothers on a mission. You grab your purse, tuck your hair behind your ears, and head 2 doors down, where Mrs. Taylor's porch light glows like a beacon for anyone hoping to escape their own dishes and maybe snag a free measuring cup. Inside, the living room is transformed, sofas pushed to the walls, a buffet of carrot sticks and suspiciously watery ranch dip, and a display of Tupperware in more pastel shades than an Easter parade. Your hostess is beaming, hair perfectly curled, wearing an apron printed with tiny strawberries, and the air of someone who's read the script for tonight's party 3 times. There are folding chairs for the newcomers, prime real estate on the couch for her inner circle, and the coffee table is covered in catalogues, order forms, and mysterious gadgets with names like Pickle Keeper and Cheesies. You settle in as the festivities begin. A neighbor you've only seen chasing toddlers around the mailbox stands at the front, holding up a translucent yellow bowl with a snap-on lid. "This is the modular mate," she announces, as if revealing a prize on "The Price is Right." She demonstrates the famous burp, that satisfying, slightly rude sound you get from pressing the lid just so. A trick passed down like family lore. The crowd oohs and ahs. You wonder if this is what secret societies were like, minus the robes and plus a lot of plastic. The real action, though, is off stage. Between product pitches, the conversation flows in coded language. "I lost 5 pounds last month," one mum whispers, eyes darting to see who's listening. "Have you tried the new low-cal crackers?" Another confides, sliding a Tupperware container of suspiciously dry snacks across the table. Someone passes around a magazine article about metabolism, and everyone nods as if reviewing classified documents. Points are awarded, silently, for every sign of self-improvement. Smaller jeans, a new haircut, the ability to recite the calorie count of a carrot stick from memory. There's applause for the mom who announces she's sworn off bread, mild awe for the one who claims to have finally conquered her sweet tooth, and side-eye for anyone who looks too content with her figure. Compliments are traded like rare stamps, half earnest, half strategic. Meanwhile, the punch is ladled out with the gravity of a sacred ceremony. It's neon pink, tastes like melted popsicle and regret, and is served in Tupperware tumblers that promise not to sweat or stain, unlike everyone present, who are quietly sweating out both ambition and anxiety. There's a raffle, a prize wheel, and the ever-present threat of being called on to share your favorite Tupperware story. You quickly invent a tale about saving Thanksgiving stuffing in a Wonderlier bowl. It's a hit. At the party's end, everyone fills out their order forms, mostly for lids they've lost or containers they hope will bring order to the Wild West of their kitchen cabinets. There's polite chatter about the next party, who will host, and which new diet plan is sweeping the neighborhood. You slip a few celery sticks into your purse, sign your name to a catalog, and promise you'll think about the pasta keeper. As you walk home under the suburban stars, you realize these gatherings are more than sales pitches. They're group therapy for women juggling work, home, and the impossible expectations of the 80s. Underneath the competition, there's solidarity, a secret society bound by burping bowls and hope. You close your own door, arms full of pastel plastic, and feel, just for a moment, like you belong. You flip through Cosmopolitan and Good Housekeeping. Every ad promises a new you. Every article warns about dangerous new diet trends, conveniently located on the next page. It's late evening, and you're slouched on the living room couch, TV murmuring in the background, a pile of glossy magazines fanned across your lap like the tarot cards of self-improvement. In the 1980s, The magazine rack was a battleground, a place where hope, guilt, and envy did a three-way dance in soft focus. You pick up the latest issue of Cosmo. On the cover, a model with hair so voluminous it could shelter a family of 4 beams at you, promising the 5 foods that will change your life, and waistline. You skim to the feature story, conveniently placed opposite a perfume sample and an ad for diet pills with names like Trimtastic and Figure 8 Formula. A celebrity in a leotard swears she lost 20 pounds in a month, just in time for swimsuit season, by eating nothing but grapefruit and moonlight. You read her tips, half believing, half scoffing. Just eat less and move more. She chirps, as if hunger and exhaustion were mere inconveniences, like static cling or split ends. Flip the page, and you're plunged into good housekeeping territory, where an entire team of nutritionists has ranked low-fat salad dressings from palatable to should be banned by Geneva Convention. There are before and after photos of women who look equally exhausted in both, but the after is always a little less rumpled, a little less real. The diet of the year gets a glowing review, until the next issue, when it's quietly denounced for causing night sweats and existential malaise. Somehow, there's always a quiz. Are you addicted to snack food? You answer honestly. The magazine's verdict? Almost certainly. The solution? Buy their book, subscribe to their newsletter, and try their new line of portion-controlled snack packs. Only $19.99 for a week's supply. Happiness not included. The ads get wilder as you go. One page features a smiling woman biting into a rice cake, her eyes glazed with the kind of joy reserved for cult initiates. The next, a doctor-recommended appetite suppressant with a list of side effects in print so tiny you have to squint and wonder if possible loss of will to live is a typo. On another page, there's a step-by-step guide to miracle toning exercises, performed by a woman wearing 3 different layers of spandex and an expression of deep, spiritual anguish. You take a breath, set the magazine aside, and glance at the stack. Red Book, Family Circle, Prevention. Each one a chorus of mixed messages. Indulge responsibly. Make every meal guilt-free. New hot fudge brownie diet. They promise empowerment while pointing out, repeatedly, everything you need to fix. You check the reader success stories in the back. The tiny headshots and tales of victory, wondering if those women ever just gave up and ate real brownies. A moment of existential clarity arrives. You realize the magazine rack isn't selling solutions. It's selling hope, repackaged every month, just in time for swimsuit season, the holidays, or whatever new diet trend is about to go viral. It's all aspiration, carefully airbrushed and endlessly recycled. You flip the magazine shut, crumbs from your late-night snack dusting the cover. Tomorrow, you'll try again. Maybe you'll finally master portion control. Maybe you'll learn to love your best self. Or maybe you'll just buy the next issue, because hope, after all, is the best subscription there is. You lean back, letting the ads and advice blur into the background hum of the TV. Quietly grateful that, at least for tonight, you can just be. Behind the Band-Aids and cough syrup, there's a rainbow of bottles labeled energy, slim, and control. Some require a prescription. Others just require hope. You don't ask questions. You just swallow. Let's open that cabinet. Its contents are a testament to the ingenuity, desperation, and pure optimism of the 1980s working mum. The shelves creak under the weight of vitamins, supplements, and mysterious tablets purchased from drugstores, catalogs, or the trunk of someone's cousin's car. There's a bottle for every mood, malady, and goal, capsules for clarity, tablets for pep, soft gels for cravings, and chewable for balance. It's a pharmacy, an apothecary, and a science experiment all in one. Some of these pills were prescribed with a knowing look from a doctor who called you honey and said, "Just don't take them before bedtime." Others came free with a magazine subscription. A few arrived in brightly colored sample packs at a Tupperware party. You remember nodding along as someone explained the difference between water weight and real weight, as if one evaporates with a peppermint and the other requires a 3-day fast. You line them up each morning, tiny pastel monuments to possibility. There's Diet Boost, which promises to burn calories while you sit still, Metabo Magic with ingredients nobody can pronounce, and the classic Dexatrim in its original, unregulated glory. Some are capsules, easy to swallow with a swig of tab. Others are so bitter you have to chase them with a spoonful of jelly, or just grit your teeth and hope for the best. The labels shout encouragement. Words like natural, doctor approved, Hollywood's secret. You squint at the ingredients list. Caffeine, guarana, herbal blend, and something called phenylpropanolamine, which sounds less like medicine and more like a challenge. A small warning. May cause jitteriness, rapid heartbeat, mild hallucinations, or a sudden urge to organize the garage. Side effects include optimism, insomnia, and occasionally cleaning the entire house at 2 a.m. You don't take all the pills every day, of course. Some are for Mondays, when getting out of bed feels like summiting Everest. Others are reserved for days with big meetings, family visits, or a surprise swimsuit fitting. There's always a new bottle on the shelf. Some hyped miracle just FDA adjacent enough to avoid being pulled from the market. At least until next month's 20 over 20 expose. You compare notes with friends in whispered conversations at work, at the playground, or in the aisle of the local pharmacy. Do these actually work? How many do you take? Can I split them in half? The answers are always vague, wrapped in a kind of sisterly secrecy. No one wants to admit they're just guessing. Your medicine cabinet is a time capsule, full of products that would later vanish in lawsuits, scandals, and midnight news specials. But for now, in the bright fluorescent light of 1985, they're your secret weapon. Your little helpers, the armor you wear to get through the day. Even if the science is questionable and the results are mostly psychological, sometimes you wonder what your own mother did before the age of appetite suppressants and energy elixirs. Maybe she just drank more coffee. Or maybe she just complained less. Maybe she didn't have a cabinet full of hope. Or maybe she did. Hers just looked like a drawer full of Hershey bars and a stack of Reader's Digests. You close the cabinet with a soft click, the bottles clinking quietly, promising transformation. Maybe tomorrow you'll need fewer. Maybe you'll finally find the perfect pill that fixes everything. But tonight, you're just another working mum in the 1980s, trusting the rainbow behind the mirror, one day at a time. It's midnight. Your mind is racing. Your leg won't stop bouncing. You blame the diet pills. But honestly, your whole life is caffeine now. Will you ever sleep again? Maybe in the 1990s, you lie in bed, staring at the cracked ceiling, the glow of your digital clock carving out the slowest numbers you've seen since junior high algebra. 1207, 1208. You try deep breathing. You try counting sheep. The sheep get bored, stage a protest, and wander off before you make it to 20. Your body is tired, but your brain is hosting a late-night talk show starring every mistake you've made since 1976. You replay the day, frame by jittery frame. Did you lock the door? Did you sign the permission slip? Did you remind your spouse that tomorrow is trash day? Should you have bought the name brand cereal? Or will the kids start a rebellion over the store brand's suspiciously square marshmallows? Why didn't you just eat the real brownie at the PTA meeting? What if you're the only parent who forgets about the bake sale? Your heart flutters. Your foot taps out a Morse code on the edge of the mattress. A nervous tick fueled by the last energy supplement you popped after dinner, plus the 3 cups of coffee, the tab, the accidental Diet Coke chugged between conference calls. You're convinced your blood is now 60% aspartame and regret. The house, at least, is quiet. Everyone else is asleep, kids sprawled at wild angles, spouse softly snoring. Even the dog is curled into a tight, crayon-digesting spiral. You listen to the refrigerator hum, the distant whoosh of a car on the main road, the eerie, sporadic clank of the pipes. It's peaceful if you ignore your mind, which refuses to power down. You wonder if anyone, anywhere, is truly sleeping, or if we're all just lying in bed together, separated by walls, connected by insomnia and the ticking clock. You try every trick in the book, rearrange your pillow, flip to the cool side, count backward from 100, recite positive affirmations like the magazine article told you. I am relaxed. I am in control. I will not eat pudding at midnight ever again. Your body refuses to be fooled. You are, quite simply, too wired to sleep. You consider getting up, fold some laundry, pay a bill, reorganize the medicine cabinet alphabetically by promised effect. But you know the minute you give in, your body will seize the opportunity to wake up completely, and you'll be toast for tomorrow's 7 a.m. wake-up call. So you stay put, trapped between exhaustion and adrenaline, longing for the sweet oblivion of sleep that just won't come. A commercial from the radio you forgot to turn off seeps in. Having trouble sleeping? Try Sleep Easy, America's favorite nighttime solution. You snort. The irony isn't lost on you. You wonder if there's a pill to cancel out the effects of all the other pills, a chemical ceasefire for your central nervous system. The hours crawl by. You become intimately familiar with the patterns on the curtains, the texture of your sheets, the existential weight of your to-do list. You promise yourself, again, that tomorrow you'll skip the afternoon coffee, resist the diet pills, go to bed at a reasonable hour. Maybe old habits, like Aquanet, are hard to wash out. Eventually, somewhere between 1 and 1:47, your mind surrenders. Your muscles finally unclench. You drift into a shallow, weirdly vivid dream about leotards and carpool lines. It's not much, but it's something. You'll take it. Sleep comes eventually, even if it's just a nap before the next round begins. And as the house breathes quietly around you, you know, rest is a victory, especially in the 1980s. The weekend arrives, and suddenly you're possessed by the spirit of Martha Stewart on a triple espresso. You vacuum the ceiling, you reorganize the fridge. You're not sure if this is efficiency or mania. Saturday morning in the 1980s starts with a bang, a burst of sunlight across the shag carpet, a child yelling about cartoons, and the irresistible urge to restore order before anyone can make new messes. Your body, running on a cocktail of residual caffeine, diet pill afterglow, and the haunting memory of your own mother's battle cry. If you're sitting, you're slacking. 2 leaps out of bed before the alarm even thinks about chiming. The house is quiet for a rare 5 minutes. You tiptoe into the kitchen, survey the aftermath of a week's worth of dinners, lunches, and snack time experiments. Every surface is sticky. You find a petrified waffle behind the toaster, and a juice box that seems to have entered a new stage of life. Without a second thought, you launch into action, spraying, scrubbing, and tossing with the precision of a game show contestant who knows the prize is their own sanity. Armed with your cleaning caddy, a battered plastic tote filled with lemon-scented sprays, bargain sponges, and a rag that once had a floral pattern, you move room to room in a methodical frenzy. You dust picture frames, polish brass, and attack smudges on the glass coffee table like they're personal insults. The vacuum roars to life, making passes over the carpet, the couch, the stairs, and, if you're honest, even the ceiling. It's amazing how many cobwebs can gather up there while you're busy burning casseroles and deflecting PTA requests. Laundry becomes your marathon. Towels, Socks, uniforms, rogue leotards, everything goes in. You fold with a kind of vengeance, stacking t-shirts by color and debating the deeper meaning of permanent press. Somewhere in the distance, the dryer beeps. You're already there, switching loads with the speed of a Formula One pit crew. The fridge is next. Tupperware containers are unstacked, opened, sniffed, and half of them are immediately marched out to the trash. You discover a science experiment at the back. Once chili, now possibly a new species. You wipe down every shelf, line things up by height, and briefly believe, as all parents do, that this order will last more than 2 days. Spoiler. It never does. The children, sensing the winds of industry, scatter. One flees to the backyard. Another claims to be helping by carrying socks upstairs, but is later found reading comics in a linen closet. Your spouse disappears behind the Sunday newspaper, adopting a facial expression of intense concentration that means, "I will only move for house fires or fresh coffee." By noon, you've plowed through every task on your mental list and added 6 more. You pause, survey your kingdom, shiny counters, sorted mail, floors so clean you could eat off them, but only if you enjoy a light citrus aftertaste. You feel an odd sense of accomplishment, part pride, part exhaustion, part, "What did I just take?" Lunch is a reward, leftover casserole, half a sandwich, maybe a carrot stick to balance the universe. You sit for a moment, finally, and bask in the fleeting glory of a home restored. There are still fingerprints on the sliding door and a crayon mural behind the couch. But for now, it's enough. Efficiency or mania? It's hard to say. But in the 1980s, a clean house was more than decorum. It was your shield against chaos, judgment, and the creeping suspicion that you were the only one not keeping it together. For one shining afternoon, you've won, and on Saturday, that's all anyone can ask. You sit in a paper gown while your doctor asks questions you don't want to answer. How are you sleeping? Do you feel anxious? Are you still taking those pills I told you to stop? You lie, of course. The examination room is freezing, colder than your confidence after looking at the scale. The paper gown rustles every time you move, which, in this echoing chamber of awkwardness, is every 4 seconds. There's a faint smell of rubbing alcohol and a stack of magazines from 2 years ago, each promising 10 easy steps to your best self. You glance at the cover models and briefly consider listing irrational jealousy under current medical complaints. You scan the walls. Diagrams of the human body, a poster for flu shots, and a chart about stress in modern life. The latter features a list of symptoms that, if you're honest, describes your existence since about 1983. Headaches? Yes. Fatigue? Constant. Racing thoughts? Only when awake. The doctor arrives, clipboard in hand, the picture of efficiency and mild concern. They smile and begin the ritual. Check the chart. Ask about family history, blood pressure, diet, exercise. You answer as best you can, massaging the truth like a seasoned PR agent. How many caffeinated drinks per day? Oh, just a couple, you say, omitting the precise definition of couple. 3 mugs before 9 a.m., 2 diet sodas with lunch, a pick-me-up around 4, and whatever happens during the PTA meeting. Next come the hard questions, delivered in the gentle tone reserved for kindergarten teachers and people with a lot to confess. How are you sleeping? You stifle a laugh. Pretty well, most nights, you say, mentally counting the hours you've spent staring at the ceiling, listing casserole recipes and worrying about bake sales. Any anxiety? No more than anyone, you reply, which in 1980s mom speak means yes. But I channel it into vacuuming the ceiling. The doctor nods, not fooled, scribbles something, and moves on to the big one. Are you still taking those diet pills I told you to stop? You smile, promise to cut back, and hope they don't look too closely at your purse, which is currently rattling like a maraca. The exam itself is a blur of cold stethoscopes, blood pressure cuffs squeezing the hope out of your arm, and the awkward ritual of standing on a scale while pretending you can't see the numbers. The doctor listens to your heart, checks your reflexes, and makes polite conversation about your kids, your work, your stress. You nod, listen, and do your best impression of a woman who totally has everything under control. There's a blood test, which you survive by picturing yourself somewhere warm, preferably a place without scales, paper gowns, or pointed questions about your vitamin intake. The nurse tells you to relax your arm, and you try. But your muscles are as tense as your smile during holiday photos. Finally, the appointment winds down. The doctor gives you a handout about balanced diets, exercise you can do in just 10 minutes a day, and the importance of restful sleep. You nod, pocket the pamphlet, and swear you'll read it later. You won't. Let's see you back in a year, the doctor says, as if these annual check-ins are gentle reminders that life keeps marching on, even if you still haven't mastered portion control or inner peace. You dress quickly, reassembling your armor of shoulder pads and running shoes. The exam is over, the lies are told, and your secrets are safe for another 12 months. You step back into the fluorescent light of the world, clutching your purse and your dignity, and tell yourself, next year you'll tell the truth. Maybe. You compare yourself to TV moms with perfect hair and even more perfect waistlines. You're pretty sure they're all lying, or maybe they just have a better prescription plan. It's Friday night, and you're winding down, channel surfing past sitcom after sitcom, Family Ties, Growing Pains, The Cosby Show. Each episode features a mom who wakes up in full makeup, serves a balanced breakfast without burning the toast, and solves household crises with nothing but a gentle hug and a motivational monologue. Her house is spotless, her kids are angelic, and even her bad days are resolved in under 23 minutes, including commercial breaks. You glance at your own reflection in the darkened TV screen. Your hair is somewhere between windswept and attacked by a leaf blower. Your outfit is an uneasy alliance of sweatpants and a work blouse. And you're pretty sure there's a Cheerio stuck to your sock. The coffee table is buried beneath a drift of permission slips, half-finished craft projects, and this morning's healthy muffin, which now has the texture of insulation foam. But the magazines, the television, even the neighbors all seem to agree perfection is achievable if you just try hard enough. If you use the right toothpaste, cook with the right oil, and discipline your children with the right combination of sternness and whimsical life lessons, everything will fall into place. Have you seen Susan's yard? One neighbor asks. Not a weed in sight. Another swears by her friend's 3-minute face, a morning routine that seems to defy both time and gravity. You mentally list your shortcomings. You haven't sewn a costume since your attempt at a no-sew ghost in '83, which looked more like a shrunken bedsheet. Your last nutritious dinner featured ketchup as a vegetable. Your children's lunchboxes contain a suspicious number of individually wrapped fun-size candies because you believe in fun, mostly because you believe in shortcuts. There's always a new pressure. Bake sales, reading nights, Healthy Hearts Week at school, where everyone's supposed to send in homemade granola, not the store-bought kind in crinkly foil pouches. You watch as other moms arrive with Pinterest-worthy trays before Pinterest was even invented. They juggle full-time jobs, PTA leadership, and what must be a side hustle in black market time travel. So you compare. You berate yourself. Maybe you'd be a better mom with more time, less work, a different metabolism, or a prescription plan with better extras. You wonder if anyone really feels like they're winning, or if, under those perfect shoulder pads, TV moms and perfect neighbors alike are secretly duct taping together their own lives, just out of view. But then, a tiny voice calls you from the hallway. Your child wants one last hug. There's marker on their cheek, a hole in their sock, and jelly in their hair, but they don't seem to notice. They don't care about casserole catastrophes or whether you wore mascara to the grocery store. They care that you're here, reading stories, listening, making it all up as you go. You breathe. The myth of perfection is just that, a myth. A product of clever marketing, idealized scripts, and selective memory. Real motherhood is messy, improvised, and sometimes hilarious. It's more about survival than style, more about showing up, messy hair, mismatched socks and all. So tonight, as you collapse into bed, remember, behind every perfect image is a mom doing her best, occasionally skipping steps, and inventing her own rules. And that, in its own way, is pretty perfect. Suddenly, the news is filled with horror stories about side effects. Congress is holding hearings. Your favorite brand gets pulled from the shelf. Now what? Coffee. Just more coffee. It's a Tuesday in 1988, and the 6 o'clock news opens with words that strike terror into kitchens across America. Diet pills recalled amid growing concerns. You freeze, spatula in hand, a casserole somewhere between family dinner and hazmat incident cooling behind you. On the TV, a somber anchor warns about heart palpitations, insomnia, hallucinations, unexpected urges to alphabetize canned goods, and, in one legendary case, an entire book club that ran a 10K by accident. Suddenly, everyone's a medical expert. Your mother calls to ask what you've been taking. Just vitamins, Mom, I swear. Your neighbor, who's always been suspiciously perky, knocks on your door with a fistful of pamphlets about natural weight management and an entire trunk of herbal tea. Your kid's school sends home a flyer with a cartoon heart on it and a list of safe alternatives, all of which taste like wet cardboard. Congress is on TV now. They've summoned a parade of scientists, concerned parents, and at least 3 former Miss Americas to testify. Charts are waved. Pills are poured out in dramatic, rainbow-colored piles. Someone holds up a bottle of Dexatrim like it's a radioactive isotope. The words epidemic, crisis, and moral decay are repeated. Just in case anyone missed the memo that suddenly, weight loss is a national security threat. You open your medicine cabinet. Now a rogues gallery of energy boosters and appetite control tablets. Some have warning stickers. Others have just vanished from store shelves. The display racks suddenly filled with extra-strength Tylenol and brochures for local gyms. You dig through the bottles, briefly wondering if any of them are collectible. Could diet pill wrappers become the Beanie Babies of 1990? At work, the break room is buzzing. The usual exchange of diet tips has turned into a confessional. I only took one, says the woman who ran the company 5KK in a time that would impress a gazelle. I only took them for stress, someone else mutters, eyeing the vending machine with longing. The lone holdout is pounding black coffee and telling anyone who'll listen that caffeine is nature's diet pill. You nod, clutching your mug, wondering if anyone has ever actually overdosed on Sanka. The magazines change, almost overnight. Where once there were shiny ads for guaranteed weight loss, there are now sober articles about listening to your body and loving yourself. Flip the page, and the next big diet trend is waiting. High fiber, low fat, eat like a French woman, swear off sugar forever. The diet pill aisle in the pharmacy is replaced with shelves of granola bars and complicated juice cleanses. You briefly consider the grapefruit diet again, then remember what happened last time. You still can't look at citrus without shuddering. At home, your spouse looks at you over dinner, forks poised. Are you okay? They ask, as if the whole house isn't already running on nerves and half-hearted optimism. You shrug and offer them more casserole. We'll just drink more coffee, you say. Maybe switch to herbal tea after dinner. You both know it's a lie, but it's a comforting one. The world hasn't ended. The casseroles still burn, the kids still whine about peas, and somewhere, Another diet miracle is just around the corner. But for now, you pour another cup, stare at your reflection in the coffee pot, and wonder, what's next? In the 1980s, the answer is always the same. Whatever it is, it'll probably come with a side of guilt and a warning label. The day comes when you decide enough is enough. You throw away the pills, embrace snack cakes, and discover a new feeling: exhaustion. Your body thanks you by refusing to get out of bed for a week. It starts with a moment of clarity, maybe during a commercial break, or maybe while staring into the glow of your own medicine cabinet, listening to the quiet chorus of bottles promising energy, slim, and control. One morning, you simply can't take another chalky tablet, can't endure another night of bouncing off the walls like a squirrel on a sugar bender. So you do the unthinkable. You gather up your collection, march it all out to the kitchen trash, and watch them tumble in with a clatter. Just like that, you're free. Except now, you have to actually live without chemical momentum. At first, it feels like jumping off a moving treadmill. The whole world slows down, way, way down. Your body, confused and slightly betrayed, demands answers. Where's my boost? It seems to ask. As you stare at the toaster in a fog, unsure whether you're supposed to put bread in it or just use it as a pillow. The first day off diet pills is a novelty. You nap. You shuffle around the house in pajamas, eating snack cakes and cheese curls, then nap again. You convince yourself this is self-care. Maybe you even savor it. After years of go, 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 your muscles relax, your jaw unclenches, and you marvel at the gentle rhythm of a day without the hum of synthetic energy. By 8 p.m., you're so tired you almost fall asleep during the credits of Family Ties. Day 2 hits harder. The fatigue is legendary, biblical, the kind of tired that can only be understood by parents of teething toddlers or travelers stuck at the DMV. You consider setting up camp in your bed permanently. You are so exhausted, in fact, that even your guilt is too tired to nag you. The dishes pile up, the laundry multiplies. You skip jazzercise and briefly contemplate sending a sympathy card to your leg warmers. The PTA meetings go on without you. Your spouse takes one look at your hibernation nest, crumbs, magazines, 3 mugs of cold coffee, and decides not to ask questions. As the days crawl by, you start to wonder if this is your new normal. Was it possible you were running on pure chemical fumes for years? You start to recall faint memories from before the pill era. Afternoons with sunlight streaming in, naps on weekends. The feeling of actually wanting to fall asleep at night. It all feels suspiciously wholesome. Slowly, you adapt. You reintroduce yourself to the world of actual hunger and satiety. No more artificial fullness from mystery tablets. You discover that, without the jittery drive of a diet pill, snack cakes and casseroles actually taste good. You catch up on sleep, then realize you might never actually catch up. But you do start to feel something like real rest for the first time in ages. Eventually, a little energy returns. Real energy, the kind that comes from, of all things, food and sleep. You emerge from your bed, blinking in the natural light, a little older, a little wiser, and with a new appreciation for the wild ride you've survived. The pills are gone. You still don't have a perfect waistline, but you do have the satisfaction of knowing you made it through the decade, on your own 2 feet, snack cake crumbs and all. And that, you realize, is its own kind of victory. Years later, you're older, wiser, and only slightly traumatized. You look back at the photos, big hair, big dreams, tiny pills, and realize you survived the wildest decade on record. Somehow, against all odds, you made it. There's a certain nostalgia in flipping through old family albums, seeing yourself in those glossy snapshots, posing in shoulder pads wide enough to serve drinks on, hair teased sky high. smiling with a kind of caffeinated intensity that says, "Yes, I'm surviving. Thanks for asking." Your kids roll their eyes at the fashions. "Mom, did you really wear leotards to the grocery store?" But you remember the truth. Nothing felt quite as invincible as spandex, tab, and an emergency Dexatrim in your purse. You remember the dizzying rush of trying to do it all. The pressure to be thin, efficient, and perpetually in motion was just the air you breathed. You juggled work, family, and expectations so high they could have been reached with a single leap in aerobics class. You sometimes wonder how much of your ambition was your own, and how much was the faint thrum of artificial energy pulsing through your system. Every memory comes with a side of absurdity. The infamous lean cuisine lunches, partially thawed, partially scalded, always bland. The miracle diet products that promised instant results if you just swallowed hope with your morning coffee. The quiet camaraderie of PTA meetings and Tupperware parties, where every mother exchanged recipes and confessions, half serious, half conspiratorial. Did you try the new pills? Did they make you jittery? Do you think they really work? Or do they just keep you too busy to eat? Looking back, it's clear you weren't alone. The whole country seemed gripped by an anxious energy, chasing perfection through a haze of sugar-free snacks and before and after ads. Magazine covers told you to love your body, just after a 14-step plan to shrink it. Television was a parade of beaming spokesmodels, all promising happiness at a price, preferably paid in 3 easy installments. And yet, for all the absurdity, you see something else in those photos, a stubborn hope, a refusal to sit still or settle. You remember laughing until you cried at midnight with friends, your hair falling in defeat, the casseroles burning in the oven. You remember the weird sisterhood of women propping each other up through fads, fatigue, and family chaos, always with a secret stash of diet snacks in a purse the size of Nebraska. You recognize the price you paid too. The years of restless sleep, the endless guilt over a single donut, the constant hum of anxiety beneath every to-do list. But you also see how you learned, eventually, stubbornly, to stop letting scales and labels define your worth. You learned to laugh at the commercials, ignore the diet of the week, and find comfort in the ordinary chaos of life. You learned that perfect is a moving target, and, most days, simply overrated. Now, with a little distance and a lot more self-compassion, you see your younger self not as someone desperate or deluded, but as someone determined to keep moving. Someone who did what it took to get through the day. Someone who, against all the odds, survived, big hair, tiny pills, and all. And maybe, just maybe, you look at those old photos and feel a little proud. Because it turns out that making it has nothing to do with a number on the scale or a size on a tag. It's about resilience. It's about surviving, laughing, and loving your way through the strangest decades life can throw at you. And, in the end, it's about realizing you were always enough, even before the diet pills wore off. As the sun sets and Wheel of Fortune blares from the living room, you face an existential choice. Zap a TV dinner, or follow along with Jane Fonda's latest VHS. Either way, you're sweating, whether it's the microwave's fault or those leg lifts that only seem easy on TV. It's the hour of the great American decision. Outside, the sky is fading from neon pink to inky blue, the air tinged with the smell of someone else's barbecue drifting through the cul-de-sac. Inside, your kitchen is a battleground of convenience and aspiration. The freezer is stocked with boxes: Salisbury steak, chicken a la king, lasagna, each perfectly partitioned into little trays, each promising both comfort and portion control, none ever quite living up to the airbrushed photo on the box. You pop open the microwave, a behemoth the size of a small suitcase, and insert the selected TV dinner. It hums and whirs, The little plastic tray spinning slowly, windows fogging as steam leaks out and forms mysterious puddles beneath the turntable. You read the directions, pierce the film, stir halfway, stand for 2 minutes, then promptly ignore them and cook it all at once, because you're not made of time. The result is always the same: potatoes that could double as concrete, a brownie that's both lava and ice, and chicken that could survive a minor natural disaster. Meanwhile, from the living room comes the enthusiastic call of Jane Fonda, her voice somehow bright and soothing and relentless, promising tighter buns, flatter abs, and more energy than 3 bottles of Dexatrim. The choice looms. Do you follow the siren call of television fitness, or surrender to the lazy, gloppy comfort of a meal in a tray? Maybe you try to split the difference. You tell yourself you'll eat first, then exercise. You sit at the kitchen table, TV dinner steaming, watching the news or another round of wheel. You can't help but notice Vanna White's dress is the color of lean cuisine cheese sauce, and you wonder if she's ever eaten a dinner that came from a box. As you eat, guilt percolates. Should you be in spandex, step-touching along with Jane? Instead of forking up rubbery peas and pretending the apple crisp isn't just cinnamon-flavored cornstarch, you promise yourself you'll do the tape tomorrow, maybe even the advanced version if you're feeling bold. You try to remember where you put your leg warmers. You're pretty sure the dog ate one. If you do pop in the tape, it's its own adventure. You clear a patch of carpet, move the coffee table, and spend 5 minutes rewinding. Jane smiles from the screen, her hair perfect, her leotard brighter than your future, her movements impossibly bouncy. "Feel the burn," she chirps. You do, mostly in your self-esteem. The kids giggle from the couch. Your spouse sneaks another bite of your unfinished TV dinner, both of you agreeing that the mashed potatoes could use more everything. By the end of the hour, whether you've exercised or simply microwaved your way to satisfaction, you're sweating. Was it effort? The heat from the kitchen? The existential terror of knowing you'll repeat this tomorrow? Hard to say. You toss the empty tray in the trash, roll your shoulders, and let the music fade. TV dinners and exercise gurus. 2 pillars of 1980s survival, united by a shared promise of easy solutions in a complicated world. Sometimes you choose comfort. Sometimes you choose improvement. Most nights, you just choose to make it through another 6 p.m. And in the end, that's enough. In the break room, the water cooler is less about hydration and more about the exchange of secret tips. Who's on what diet, which pills work fastest, and who got caught sleepwalking into the neighbor's rose bushes after trying the blue ones. Nobody trusts HR, but everyone trusts the lady with the best gossip. This is where the real company business gets done, around a bubbling 5-gallon jug of tepid water, flanked by stacks of styrofoam cups and a faded motivational poster declaring, "Teamwork makes the dream work. Forget meetings, memos, or even the office newsletter. If you want to know what's really happening, who's leaving, who's cheating, who switched from Dexatrim to Slim Fast, you stake out the water cooler and wait. You approach casually, cup in hand, feigning thirst. The crowd is already gathered. Sharon from accounting, who always knows who's about to get promoted or demoted. Deb, the unofficial historian, who can recite every major office scandal since 1974, and Maureen, the woman with more inside tips than Dr. Ruth and Dear Abby combined. Today's topic, what's everyone taking? Sharon lowers her voice. I heard Marge is on the green capsules now. The ones they advertise in Reader's Digest? She reorganized the whole file room last Friday and hasn't blinked since. Deb counters. That's nothing. My sister's neighbor tried the pink ones, couldn't stop talking for 3 days. Her husband had to hide in the garage. You nod along, sipping your water, which tastes vaguely of plastic and disappointment. You're here for the camaraderie, the safety in numbers, and, if you're honest, the chance to get the real story behind Barb's miraculous 10 pounds in 2 weeks. There's a code in these conversations. Never mention a brand name too loudly. Always couch complaints in humor. And above all, pretend it's all in good fun. But beneath the jokes and gentle ribbing is a secret currency: information. "I found a new one at the pharmacy," someone whispers, sliding a scrap of paper across the table. "You didn't hear it from me. There's talk of side effects, racing hearts, insomnia. One wild tale about hallucinating Richard Simmons doing aerobics in the driveway. It's worth it." Someone shrugs. "If it gets me through another double shift." Diet tips are traded like baseball cards. Skip lunch, double up on coffee. Don't eat after 7. Unless you're desperate, then just eat in the dark. Someone shares a recipe for sugar-free fudge that tastes almost real if you hold your nose. The group laughs, a little too loudly, then quickly changes the subject as the HR manager walks by, clutching her own cup and looking suspicious. Nobody trusts HR. The rumor is she once turned someone in for bringing donuts to a healthy potluck. But Maureen, she's the trusted oracle. She knows who got caught napping in the supply closet, who's secretly dating the UPS guy, and who went to the ER after mixing pills with Tab and half a package of Tic Tacs. If Maureen says a new diet trend is iffy, you take it as gospel. The break room gossip is a lifeline. It's how you survive the endless parade of workplace expectations, looking good, working hard, and never letting on that you're exhausted from both. It's where you vent about bosses, swap warnings about the blue ones, and share a rare, guilty laugh. Eventually, the water cooler crowd disperses, back to desks, typewriters, endless lists of things to do. But you walk away with more than just questionable hydration. You've got a handful of new strategies, a mental list of pills to avoid, and the comforting knowledge that you're not the only one just trying to get through the day. In the 1980s office jungle, the water cooler is more than a pit stop. It's the pulse of the tribe, and the place where secrets flow just as freely as the water. It's 3 p.m. Somewhere between desperation and delirium, you find yourself wrestling a vending machine for a fun-sized Snickers. Your willpower collapses faster than your blood sugar. The only thing stopping you from eating the whole sleeve is the haunting memory of a tabloid headline: "Diet ruined by office snacks." This is the daily battlefield, and the fluorescent lights overhead offer no mercy. Your lunch, a hockey puck of lean cuisine and a handful of hope, has vanished from your system. In its place is a gnawing hunger and a jittery sense of betrayal. You eye the clock. 2 more hours of productivity required, and your brain has already left for the day, leaving your stomach in charge. The break room vending machine calls to you in the voice of every late-night infomercial ever made. "Come on, you deserve it," it hums, flashing its lights over rows of plastic-wrapped temptation, peanut butter crackers, cheese puffs, mysterious pastries that have survived since the Ford administration, and of course, the gleaming row of fun-sized Snickers, shiny, innocent, and ready to be your downfall. You check your pockets, scraping together enough loose change to make a bid for happiness. Quarters, dimes, and a Canadian penny you keep hoping the machine won't notice. You select 7 and pray. The machine rumbles, the coil rotates, and, miracle of miracles, a Snickers drops. It's yours, along with a faint whiff of machine oil and a healthy serving of guilt. You unwrap the candy bar as quietly as possible, hoping to avoid the attention of co-workers who are, at this hour, also staring down their own demons. The first bite is pure joy: sugar, chocolate, nuts, and the fleeting taste of rebellion. You promise yourself you'll only eat half, maybe 2/3, but in 3 bites it's gone. You consider going back for another. You consider, briefly, eating an apple instead. Then you remember apples don't come with caramel, but with the sweet release comes the crash. That familiar pang of remorse, the sense that you've lost yet another battle in the never-ending war against snack attacks. You think of the articles you read, top 5 ways to defeat the 3. Munchies, snack smarter, not harder, all of them written by people who have clearly never worked in an office with free donuts and stress as a primary food group. You try to distract yourself. Water, you think. Hydrate. You chug a styrofoam cup of Breakroom water, which tastes like sadness and faint plastic. You chew gum. You walk around the office, pretending to stretch your legs but really scouting for stray cookies left from someone's birthday. You are not proud. But this is survival. Your co-workers are right there with you. Sharon, who's sworn off carbs, is eyeing the box of crackers in the corner. Deb, who meal prepped for the week, is chewing a single stick of celery with the intensity of a contestant on Survivor. Someone, somewhere, is always making popcorn, filling the air with that unmistakable scent, a combination of nostalgia, regret, and burnt dreams. For a moment, you consider giving up, letting the snacks win. Maybe you'll just be the fun mom with a drawer full of chocolate, but then you remember the promise you made again and again to yourself, to your jeans, to the motivational cat poster above your desk. Hang in there. By 3:37 the craving passes. You wipe the crumbs from your keyboard, vow to start fresh tomorrow, and reward yourself with a handful of sugar-free mints. Because nothing says I have self-control like eating 7 of anything labeled diet. The war isn't over, but you've survived another skirmish. And in the world of office snacks, that's as close to victory as it gets. Every magazine promises transformation if you just call now. You pick up the phone, dial the number, and get a peppy operator promising a revolutionary new formula. 2 weeks later, you're $39 poorer, slightly more jittery, and convinced the only thing getting thinner is your patience. This is the era of toll-free hope, when salvation for all your problems, from stubborn pounds to flagging energy, was just 10 digits away. Every ad gleamed with impossible promises: lose 10 pounds by the weekend, all natural, doctors hate this one trick. The photos showed smiling women in leotards, before and after miracles so dramatic you wondered if they'd just swapped models halfway through the shoot. You cut out the coupon, careful not to snip the code required to unlock your exclusive savings. You find the quietest corner of the house, a feat in itself, and dial. The phone rings, then clicks, and suddenly you're greeted by a voice so chipper it sounds like it's been mainlining tab and positivity since 6 a.m. Congratulations. The operator chirps. You've reached Body Beautiful Hotline. Are you ready to change your life? You answer yes, of course, though you're not sure if change will mean smaller jeans or just less money in your checking account. The operator recites a script about groundbreaking studies and unique herbal blends. You listen dutifully, nodding as if they can see you through the corded phone. There's a sense of ceremony in it all. The careful spelling of your name, the hush in your voice as you read out your credit card number, the faint thrill that comes with the promise of a package arriving just for you. 2 weeks later, a padded envelope arrives, covered in mysterious stamps and bold font. Inside, a white plastic bottle filled with pills that rattle like hope and caution. There's a pamphlet, too, complete with black and white success stories. Testimonials from people with names like Barb S. and Carol W., who swear they've never felt better. You read every word, seeking reassurance. The directions say to take before meals with water and a positive mindset. You wonder if coffee and skepticism will do. The first dose is uneventful. The second? You notice your heart beating in your ears. The third? Suddenly you're alphabetizing your spice rack and considering repainting the bathroom at 11 p.m. Your family asks if you're all right. Just motivated, you say, as you vacuum the hallway in your pajamas. But soon, the magic fades. The appetite comes back. The jeans fit the same. You call the hotline again, this time for customer support. and get an endless menu of options. Press 1 for questions, 2 for reorders, 3 to hear an inspiring message from our founder, Debbie, who lost 200 pounds and now runs marathons. You hang up before Debbie can finish her story. Your own story shifting from hope to resignation. Eventually, you collect the bottles in a drawer alongside other artifacts of 80s consumer optimism, a Thigh Master, a garlic press shaped like a heart, and a stack of VHS tapes promising you can jazzercise your way to joy. You tell yourself you'll try again. Someday. Maybe next time. With a different number. A different operator. A different miracle. And as the years go by, you realize the only thing that changed was your willingness to believe. The world of 1-800 hotlines taught you more about hope, disappointment, and the fine print than any health class ever did. But, for a little while, it felt like transformation was just a phone call away, and honestly, in the 1980s, sometimes that was almost enough. Inside your purse is everything you need to survive the 80s. Loose change, 6 different kinds of gum, tissues, 3 half-empty pill bottles, and a coupon for diet bread. If you dig deep enough, you'll find a granola bar from 1983 and the crumbling remains of optimism. Your purse is less an accessory and more a survival kit, an ever-expanding, bottomless repository of just in case. On the outside, it's deceptively ordinary, a sturdy rectangle of faux leather, perhaps adorned with a small bow or a brass clasp that never quite stays closed. On the inside, it's a parallel universe. If Mary Poppins had to navigate a decade of diet pills, PTA meetings, and carpool chaos, her carpet bag would look something like this. You reach in, fingers first brushing past a wadded-up receipt from a grocery run 3 months ago, somehow sticky despite its age. Next, a tube of lipstick worn down to a nub, 3 pens, all out of ink, and a checkbook with the cover doodled over in moments of boredom during soccer practice. Tucked in a side pocket is a crumpled pack of tissues, half the sheets long since sacrificed to spills, tears, or impromptu nosebleeds. There's a key ring the size of a medieval weapon, weighing you down with keys for every door you've ever locked, and at least one for a mystery lock you don't even remember. A fistful of coins, some domestic, some Canadian, some so old you could probably trade them at an antique fair for something more useful, like a functioning pen. But the real core of the purse is the pharmaceutical archive. In one zippered compartment, 3 pill bottles, one with a faded label that says, "Take as needed," another with a cheery sunburst logo promising day-long energy, and a third whose label has all but rubbed away. Each bottle has only a few pills left. The rest distributed over months, rationed like post-war chocolate. You keep them for emergencies. A rough afternoon, a PTA showdown, or when the carpool line threatens to turn into a hostage situation. You find 6 flavors of gum, each more aggressively minty than the last, a single cough drop, and 2 ancient certs that rattle around like dice in a Yahtzee cup. Somewhere in the depths, a coupon for diet bread, expired, naturally, but kept just in case, as all good coupons are. There are also snacks for every mood and crisis. A slightly smushed granola bar from a simpler time, a baggie with 3 pretzels and what may have once been an apple slice, now desiccated into an archaeological relic. You stash snacks not out of hunger, but in anticipation of every possible scenario. Soccer games that go into overtime, shopping trips that never end, and emergency meetings that devolve into hostage negotiations over the last donut. If you keep digging, you'll turn up more mysteries. A broken pencil, a half-used book of stamps, a Polaroid from a forgotten birthday, and a note to yourself, "Buy batteries," written in eyeliner during a power outage. The purse, with all its chaos, is your armor. It's the reason you survive late nights, unexpected crises, and afternoons when the only thing between you and collapse is a sugar-free mint and a pep talk from your own reflection. You may not always know what you'll find in there, but you know whatever you need. Odds are, it's rolling around somewhere in the bottom, maybe next to your dignity, maybe under a half-melted chapstick. So the next time someone asks why your purse is so heavy, just smile and say, preparedness. Because in the 1980s, every mom's purse was both a pharmacy and a secret weapon, filled with everything needed to weather another wild day, and enough optimism, just barely, to try again tomorrow. So tonight, as you lie back in your non-waterbed and let the hum of your fan drown out the ghosts of Tupperware parties past, take a moment to appreciate just how wild the ride was for 1980s working moms. They faced bosses, casseroles, societal guilt, and the full might of the American pharmaceutical industry, with only shoulder pads, willpower, and questionable diet pills for armor. You've survived a day in their shoes that, by the way, probably matched their purse and pinched their toes for 8 straight hours. You've wrestled with microwaves, vanquished vending machines, and stared down a medicine cabinet full of mysterious miracle pills, all while juggling PTA meetings and the eternal quest for 5 minutes of peace in a house full of chaos. If you think your modern life is stressful, just remember, nobody's asking you to look good in a leotard on national television while subsisting on tab and hope. You don't have to keep up with 3 kids, a full-time job, and a society convinced that thinness equals success, all with a smile and a freshly vacuumed carpet. So tonight, tuck yourself in and whisper a silent thank you to every mum who powered through the 80s on nothing but caffeine, sheer determination, and maybe a little pharmaceutical encouragement. Because history may be absurd, but it's proof that people, especially women, are stubborn, resourceful, and secretly hilarious. Sleep well, knowing that no matter what tomorrow throws at you, at least you don't have to live through a workplace weigh-in, survive on lean cuisine, or hide a bottle of Dexatrim in your sock drawer. Good night. You've earned it.